So what do you guys think of that? Woo! Come on, you can be louder than me with my microphone. All right, thank you so much for joining us for this Q&A section. We are lucky to have with us the director of Speed Sisters, Amber Farris. Please come on down. And also the producer, Jessica Devaney. So Speed Sisters is Amber's feature-length directorial debut. It premiered at Hot Docs in 2015, where it was one of the top 20 Audience Choice Awards, and it won the Audience Award at the Irish Film Institute Festival. Welcome to both of you. Yeah.
Actually, we have a really special guest today. Straight from Palestine, we have manager Maysoon Jayyusi, who's just getting... Maysoon literally just got off the plane and made her come straight here, so she's a little bit tired, I'm sure.
So I'm going to start by asking one or two questions, and then we will let you guys ask questions. Please, if you have a question, raise your hand and I'll call on you, and proceed to the edge of the aisle where one of our volunteers will run to you with a microphone. So I will just get this started by asking Amber, what was it about this story that made you want to make this film?
Well, when you come across 5 race car drivers in the middle of the West Bank, it pretty much says it all. I think for me, growing up my background is Lebanese, and growing up in Canada, I was really wanting to show stories that more reflected my experience in growing up in an Arab community, an Arab family. And when I came across the Speed Sisters, it was really, it just felt like it was a really great story to be able to tell.
All right, thank you. And what were some of the challenges you faced in getting the film made, and how did you overcome them?
I mean, a lot of challenges are the same with every film, which is things like funding and things like that. With this film, it's I was living in the West Bank at the time, and then so for us, the elements of the occupation that make it hard for the women to live there would also make it hard for us to film. So there's really a you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where violence is going to flare up. You don't know whether soldiers are going to shoot at you or not shoot at you, and those types of things. So that was probably one of the hardest things about filming in the West Bank.
Yeah, I can imagine. So we will take some questions from the audience. Does anyone have a question? I have a question. Okay, great. Wait, no, please wait. We have to, for the recording, for online. Sorry. Run, volunteers, run.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so I noticed in the film that there was kind of some tension between the members of the team, like the Speed Sisters. And this is just a question for their captain, their manager. What was the best thing you found that would help the team culture stay cohesive and stay together, despite the intense competition and the small things that we saw cause tension between the team members?
Actually, good evening. I'm happy that we make this film here and I came to meet you. I hear you're laughing from outside, and I'm so happy that you like it. It's difficult to manage a team from strong girls, that they are not any girls, because under all this situation, occupation, Arab traditional mentalities thinking, and they are achieve what they want. It's not easy for me. It was not easy, but I was clever enough to understand every mentality of each one. I know everyone what she like, and I go behind her side, and I stand maybe more behind Marah, because as you see in the film, all the people helping Betty and give her. She's as she say, I am brand. I am, you know. So she can get what she want when she have more strong to ask what she want and achieve what she want. So I stand more a little bit with Marah, and I explain for Betty why I do that. She asked me, she came and asked me, why you sponsoring her more than us? I told her, because you do what you want. Sometimes you like go direct to ask for what you need. You don't yani, cross me, yani, you know. So, but at the end they are like sisters, and now they are more friends, like what you see them in the beginning. And you know, if there's no competition between each other, they will be pouring to race and to competitor. But they now feel more exciting that if Marah didn't go to the race, Betty will feel upset. And if the other, yani, they miss each other on all events. But outside the sport, they love each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have another question? Could we come quickly? Thank you.
So thank you so much for the film. I loved it. And I was just wondering, so it's always very dangerous and brave to sort of do a film that doesn't always portray Israel very favorably, and which is, of course, so necessary. But I was wondering, during the editing process, the sort of your thought process and what you said, like, if I include this, are there some people who won't feature this film somewhere, or some people who won't fund me? Like, so, yeah, in terms of that, I don't know if that's too invasive of a question, but I was wondering, like, your process of that.
Yeah, I don't know if that came, I think for us, right from the beginning, what we wanted to do was to tell a story that was from their perspective, that was very much from the perspective of the racers themselves and how they interacted with, you know, with the occupation, right? Which is in some ways from a distance, right? And so in doing that, that's really what we tried to stay true to through the whole film. But I know, like, it really didn't cross our minds in terms of what should we include and exclude, or in terms of, you know, wanting to get funding or where the show or where the film would play. But there was definitely those conversations as to, you know, what do we add, and where our guide was really, it was really them and their experience.
Any other questions?
So what is it like now that you're in Jordan? Do you miss them? Are there other female racers there that you can connect with?
Yes, I miss them, but I always going to Palestine, and I'm in touch with them by media, like internet and Facebook. Always we be in touch, but because the situation now in Palestine, they stopped all the events. The Palestinian Federation, they stopped all the racing events. So it's a little bit quiet now there. After they established another time the racing, and maybe we'll get more involved, especially because my husband is now also, we will thinking, we start working to move back to live in Palestine. So I will be more focusing with the team, because I will go back to Palestine another time.
Who's next?
How did you find 4 women of such different backgrounds? Especially one of them is a very different class from the other ones, right? One was very rich, one was not so rich. How did you find the 4 women to make a team?
Yeah, they kind of came together on their own. I mean, they were all, yeah, it was, actually who started it was the head of the racing federation, was Khaled. When he started the federation himself, he actually provided, there was a car that was provided for any woman that wanted to race. So I mean, I think that's a really great example of, you know, even how he comes across as being somewhat affair at times, but he was really one of their biggest supporters in creating a space for women to race in Palestine. And then each one of the girls came on their own accord. Khaled and Maysoon worked both at the UN together, and so he had, convinced her to come out. Betty heard about it from her brother. Mara heard from a neighbor. Noor had heard that there were these girls. So they all came to it on their own. It was just really from the love of cars and racing that brought them together, and then they self-organized, and Maysoon became. Maysoon didn't have a good enough car, so she just became the manager. You couldn't race in a RAV4.
In the beginning, they put a manager. He was man. He couldn't deal with us. So they start to thinking to have the manager from our team. So I raise my hand, and all of them accept. So I start managing the team. And for your question, is that all the girls, they came from different levels, but they take the equal chance. Like they bring trainees from London to come to Palestine to give us training. All of them participate, and no one need to pay anything. It was like just for free. So they get their chance. But this sport is expensive. So till now still Marah complaining about she pay too much to fix her car, to go to the events. She needs sponsoring. But for Betty, she bought a new car. So I think, it's a little bit, this sport need more, it's, as you said, it's for rich people, more comfortable to deal with this sports. Thank you.
Oh, in the back. Sure, in the purple first.
Hi, so I'm curious about some of the criticism that you got as female racers. You went into it a little, reading the comments on Betty's appearance on, I don't know, did it say that it doesn't matter. Right, but the criticism that you were kind of talking about seemed pretty tame compared to the kind of thing I think you'd hear in the US based on, I don't know, women doing anything they're not supposed to do. So I'm curious whether most of the feedback you got was positive. Like, were there forums where you were getting a lot of negative criticism, and how did that kind of come across?
Actually, it's different from, not just country to country, it's from city to city. Like when we go to race in Jenin, it's not the same to race in Ramallah, not the same to race in Bethlehem. There's a different mentality between the people where they live. And actually, at the beginning, it was difficult, and they didn't accept. But when we made our achieve our goals and racing, and they saw us winning, and they saw us have power, they become supporting us, and we have a good numbers of fans. That's it.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things that, from spending, I was with them, I think the first time I met them was at the end of 2009. And one of the things that always struck me was how supportive people were, especially, the people that we came in contact with at the races, and even really walking around Jenin, too. I'd often ask people to name, who are the best racers of Jenin, and they would say Mara's name, and the other racers were very supportive. And that was, I think, one of the things that really struck me as well, is I was kind of expecting to be a lot more pushback from society. And there may have been in other sorts of areas, like I could have, maybe have gone to a mosque, or maybe, looked at, but from the, in general, people were really supportive and very proud of them. And I think now, even after the movie, it might even be more so. I'm not sure, but they're kind of like local heroes, definitely now. I think in good role models.
Yeah, when they saw the movie in Palestine, they were very happy and proud, and they didn't thought that because they didn't live with us every moment. They saw us just racing, but the movie show all our lives. Yani. She were following us everywhere, and it's real. What you saw, yani, it's yani, nothing is acting. It's what we felt like. One day I go like just like volunteering with some movies. They told me, "Are you study acting?" I told them no, but 5 years camera follow me. I used to, I used to be familiar with cameras. So yeah, everywhere. So we forget that there's any cameras around us. We live our life as it is. Yes.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Okay, down in the second row. In the gray.
I'm so glad you brought up the issue of all those cameras. I noticed that you're a DP as well as director, and you had a fellow DP. I know it's difficult enough to storyboard an action film, but when you have the dynamic of a documentary of personalities, of somebody getting shot in the rear and losing an engine and things like that, how do you manage to set up and maintain a production schedule?
Oh, I don't know if we ever had a schedule. That would be way too much for Palestine to ever have a schedule. Are you kidding? It would be like, we were joking when we were making the film that we should make a film called Waiting on the Speed Sisters, because it was usually me, my DP, and my AP sitting on the corner waiting for them to show up. I think, the thing with them that made it so difficult is that there were 5 of them, and trying to follow all 5 of them, at the same time and because I was living in the West Bank, it made it much easier because, we did have a DP, a very talented DP from Germany named Lucy Martins, who came for a few months and filmed with us, which was really great. But a lot of the time it was just me there with a camera. So I was be able to react to what was going on with them on a personal level, and then at the races, we actually used a lot of local cameramen, a lot of Palestinian. There was a lot of Palestinian crew that worked tirelessly and for us, and they were really amazing and supportive and really believed in the film. So we had a lot of 3 or 4 cameras sometimes on following the races themselves. We had GoPros, and then Lucy and I would be trying to follow each one after, like on sort of when they weren't racing, like off. So it was just really trying to anticipate what was happening. So that's why it felt like there were maybe cameras everywhere, because in some cases we had a lot of GoPros. They always had cameras, and they were always mic'd up.
She was living with us, like not just time we came to film you or we have a schedule like there's nothing like this. She come talk to us, know what everything about our life, about our secrets. We were telling her everything, and sometimes when we start to talk about anything, even it's not about the racing, I start like sometimes she touch me inside. I start to talk to her, and sometimes crying, sometimes laughing, sometimes tell her something I never told anyone. So she like become like inside us. She told us, "What's your planning tomorrow?" I told her, or maybe I will go to pray in the mosque. She follow me. She don't have a plan, and I follow her. She follow what we do, and she take her ideas from deep inside us. She don't have a schedule or planning or an idea. She want to make film about it, but she find our inside our soul, what we think, what we do. And I think this is the secret of the success of the film, because it's from the deepest inside. Yeah.
Well, they were easy to film. Like, my favorite scene in the whole film was when those kids came up and were trying to sell balloons to Maysoon. And I remember Rena, my AP, and I were sitting in the backseat just going, "Oh my God," like just trying not to laugh. We couldn't believe it. I mean, they just attracted so much. And they Maysoon handled herself so well in that scene and was so naturally funny. It just made it, they were just really a joy to hang out with. So,
next question in the front.
I was just curious at the races. It seemed like all the fans were men. Were there women that also were fans?
Yes, sure. There's a lot of women want to attend and to come to be a member of our team, but sometimes their families not accept because it's just not about the Arabic mentality. It's also about it's like dangerous. They thought it's dangerous sport, and they need to have a car with the equipment, blah 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 blah. All these things like start to be like not easy for any girl. She want to attend, she can, but there's a lot of messages in my email that they send me message. We want to participate. How can we? And I give them the direction. Some of them are waiting the events to come, and the other is just give their feeling.
I think also if you go to any race in North America, you see mostly men there. That's not, I don't think, a reflection really on any difference in the Middle East than in North America or anywhere else around the world. I mean, it's really considered a male sport anywhere.
Thank you. Do we have other questions? Okay, in the green first.
I just wondered, did you open a store in Amman then?
I will go back to open it another time in Ramallah, but a new one. Yes.
No, I mean in Jordan.
No, in Jordan, because I am planning to go back to live in Palestine. I don't want to open it in Jordan and after a couple of years leave it.
There were questions in the back?
Sorry, guys. So you said that you started filming in 2009, I think.
I met them in 2009,
Okay.
but we started in 2010, yeah.
Okay, and I believe someone in the film said that racing sort of just came to Palestine in 2006. So I was wondering how following this developing story of the first female racers in the Middle East within a developing story of just racing in Palestine has shaped what we saw on screen. And I guess if you were to go back in 5 or 10 years, do you think that sort of thing would have changed and you could see like a...
More racers and stuff, you
Well,
mean,
more
or-
racers and I guess storyline, I'm not sure. What we saw on screen, how it was shaped by the fact that not only was it the first time that we see female racers, but it's also a pretty recent phenomenon that we see racers in Palestine.
Yeah, I want to clarify one thing, though. They're the first all-women race team. There have been other racers in Iran, in Jordan, in Lebanon. They're not the first women racers in the Middle East by far. There's other women that have been doing it. It's more of they were the first. Like, you know, I can't, and I actually really can't think of another country that has, like, you know, well, I mean, sure there is. I'm sure there's other race teams, but you know, there's not. It's actually quite rare. But Jessica, do you want to add anything?
Well, Maysoon was just telling me on the train ride over how the races have been canceled for the last several months because of the political context. And in terms of your question, thinking about Palestine and the political volatility and unpredictability because of life under occupation over the course of years, it's really hard to get a sense of what it would be like 5 years from now, or if Amber was making those interventions at a different time.
All right, we have time for one more question. All right, someone very excited in the middle.
Was the film shown in Israel?
So early on, we made a decision internally as the team that we wanted to screen the film in Israel only with Palestinian partners, Palestinian cultural institutions, Palestinians living inside of Israel. And so we have been doing that here and there since the film launched last year with a couple of different partners. And that's, yeah.
Yeah, it's playing in Haifa in next week or something, next month. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been in towns and cities all across Israel and the West Bank, and not yet Gaza, right?
No, not yet.
Well, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And so you know, another exciting piece, our volunteers will be holding this for you to take pictures outside the door. I think everyone should do it. I can't promise you can ride a race car in the Middle East, but you can do this. Thank you all so much.